Can you share your name, your chapter, and maybe your school and a fun fact about you?
For sure, yeah. What's up, everyone? My name is Sammy. I'm a sophomore in Fight Art at USC. Fun fact is probably the fact that I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts. So, yeah.
Awesome. Now I understand that early in college and maybe late in high school, you were struggling a little bit with your mental health. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, struggling is a little bit of an understatement, I would say. But if you want to rewind to my sophomore year of high school, I found myself in a really rough spot. I actually decided kind of 4 years ago on Easter Sunday that my life was no longer worth living. And, that's at least for my sake. I kind of looked back and had my little brother, had my family, and knew that I couldn't do anything because I didn't want to hurt them. But yeah, was away at boarding school and really just isolated myself from my friends and had kind of a really dark time going. So would get done with class, just go sleep, not really because I was tired, but more so because I didn't want to be awake. And just felt like the inside of my mind was an echo chamber of self-doubt. And so wasn't really sure what to do, but kind of realized that if I took on more stuff, I could distract myself, And so the idea was to bury myself in work, and that's what I did. I took on more and more so I didn't have to deal with what I felt like were the shortcomings everyone could see. And, really said yes to jobs I didn't want to do, took on more projects, and really anything to hide from myself. And so, yeah, it took me years to kind of learn that this tirade of negativity came from, the evil one and not God. But in the meantime, I discovered that I kind of use this busyness as a way out. And so what that looked like was just the more I did, the more I got recognized, and it wasn't long before achievement became my way to mask insecurity.
Thanks for being so vulnerable with us. How did things change when you got to USC, and how did joining a fraternity play into all this?
So time goes on, and I'm gonna give a shout out to my USC folks right here. It was my dream school, loved everything about it. And to me, it was not only USC, but more so this idea of Los Angeles and the beaches and the movie stars. And on paper, right, it's everything I felt like I could have wanted in a college experience. And then I got there and kind of realized that as much as I love all this stuff, there's still something in me that's missing. And wasn't really sure what it was, but knew internally there was just this super deep hole that nothing kind of seemed to fill. And so kept doing what I'd always done, which I felt like was more, seeing if that could keep working. But didn't. So spring came around, decided to rush fraternity. And I actually had one of my good friends in the audience tell me that everyone, joins a fraternity for a reason, right? That when you go through this rush process, if you were completely content with yourself and what your life had to offer, you wouldn't go Greek. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how I felt my sophomore year, or my freshman year rather. I was in the mindset that maybe if I had more status or could kind of party more, have a closer group of friends, maybe one of those things would kind of fix it. And, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun my freshman year, but didn't really fix the whole. And so, as much as I love Phi Delta and my boys there, I kind of realized that I need to, become more introspective and just see what else I can find,
So, as you were realizing that the things you've been trying weren't fixing how you were feeling, how did these things start to change?
For sure, yeah. So actually, a year ago around this time, I got a text out of the blue from a woman that I just want to give so much praise to. She's become my mom away from home. Greek Ivy Lit at USC, Krista Samaha.
Shout out, Krista.
Yeah, huge shout out to Krista. She has changed my life, and she invited me to this conference last year, essentially. And I really took the time to think about that invitation, because when I was reflecting, I kind of thought, I don't know if faith is the thing that's missing, but probably not. And I ended up accepting the invitation because it was more so the mentality for me that if faith is the thing, I just kind of want to be able to rule out everything else. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I accepted. And, it's funny kind of how God works in that way, because he used very clearly the people I met at that conference to just change my life. And I felt like when I tried everything else in my own life, he had every reason to let me go, but for some reason he kept pursuing me. And that's kind of how I got here.
And how has your life been different since then?
Changed a lot. It's actually kind of crazy to think about. So I am on now the kind of overarching leadership team at Greek IV. Got a lot of them here. And I'm also the chapter ministry leader for Fight Up, which has been just an absolute blast. I've loved doing it. And I wish I could kind of like sit up here and say that since doing all this stuff, everything's been just sunshine and rainbows, like perfect, but that wouldn't necessarily be the truth either. I still struggle with my faith. I still have moments of doubt, moments of insecurity. But what I've learned is that faith isn't about achievement or masking that insecurity. It's about, for me, trying to be as authentic as I can in my walk with God and really pursuing that personal relationship with Jesus. And my kind of mantra for it has become, it's about growth, not perfection. That kind of ties back in my Greek getaway experience from the fall, actually. So at this point, I felt like my faith journey was trending positively, right? I'm like, things are going well, kind of feeling like I'm finding my footing in this thing. And I remember that weekend in the mountains, being able to work with like Krista, my other mentors, the leadership team, the CML, kind of like, okay, what would more accountability in my faith look like, And we kind of came to the conclusion that for me, a big thing was my heart posture when going out, right? So having lived in LA for almost 2 years now, like a thing you should know is that I love the nightclub scene. It's a lot of fun for me. But the issue was that I would be going out with so many expectations for the night and what could happen after that I wasn't really enjoying the time I was there with other people. And so I was challenged, by my mentors, kind of, hey, look at the reason for doing this, right? Take some time, see what can kind of come of that. And I decided to. It was November, so of course I had to call it like something catchy. No Nightclub November. It sounded pretty awesome. And yeah, it was, I think, a pretty big success, I would say, like being able to step back and really just push in with my leadership team and stuff like that. And since then, I'm not going to say that I haven't gone out, but it's been a lot more fun because I'm doing it for the people I'm with. I'm doing it for the music and nothing else. And again, I think it's all about growth, not perfection in that area, which ultimately is kind of what Greek IV has done for me above all else. It's given me a sense of hope and a sense of like purpose. And, it's let me develop a heart posture of gratitude in all things. So it's kind of allowed me to grow in my faith and begin filling that hole that for so many years I felt like just went unaccounted for. And, for that piece, if nothing else, that's what's made this whole journey worth it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I really love how just God has been working in your life and how he's really used Greek IV to be a small part of that. Thank you, Sammy, for sharing with us. And can we just give Sammy a round of applause? So now, the worship